our annual graduation recognition ceremony. My name is Dr. Kirk Mcallister, and I'm the Dean of the Campus and Community Relations here at Ohio Chillicothe. I'm so very pleased that you could join us here this evening. Will everyone stand so that we can begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, please? We're going to turn and face the flag. We're going to be led in the pledge tonight by the graduating student Alicia Davis, who is earning a Bachelor of Science degree in nursing. And remember classmates who are deceased, and to keep them and their families in our thoughts. Thank you. Ohio University President Dr. Dwayne Ellis would like to congratulate the Ohio University class of 2021 on earning their degrees and taking the next step in their lives. Despite the challenges, our students have adapted and supported one another. I would like to direct your attention to President Ellis's video message to the students using the QR code found on the inside cover of tonight's program. I'm pleased to announce that during this past year, 181 students have completed their studies and earned their degrees from Ohio University while attending Ohio Chillicothe campus. They include 64 associate degrees, 117 bachelor's degrees. Today we have approximately 80 graduates participating in this recognition ceremony. All of the names of our graduates are listed in tonight's program. Will you please join me now in congratulating all of them on these fine accomplishments. I would also like to recognize individuals who are seated up front and in the audience who will be participating in tonight's program. Please stand when your name is called and remain standing until all have been introduced. Please hold your applause until the end. We have Mayor Luke Feeney, today's featured speaker. Mr. Kirk Mcallister, member of the Coordinating Council and keynote speaker. Ms. Alicia Davis, military veteran and nursing graduate. Ms. Jamie Lowe, Coordinator of Student Enrollment and Chair of the Graduate Recognition Ceremony Committee. And we have the faculty marshals, Dr. Greg Obi for associate degrees, and Dr. Tony Vinci, standing in for Dr. Amy Wolf for bachelor's degrees. Special guests also include Mr. Joe Uhrig, who's Chair of the Coordinating Council, and Ms. Joyce Atwood. Members of our campus staff and administration, our facilities and ground crews, our students, and the distinguished faculty of Ohio University Chillicothe, which include our adjunct faculty members. Please join me in a round of applause for these individuals. Please be seated. So standing here today on our beautiful and modern campus, I'm reminded that Ohio University Chillicothe exists because far-sighted local leaders, elected officials, generous corporate and community service organizations, and ordinary citizens wanted it. They willed it and made things happen. I am pleased to observe that now, 75 years later, the tradition of cooperation that created Ohio University Chillicothe still exists. On September 16, 1946, 281 students in 41 classes began their journey on a new 2-year college branch program at Chillicothe High School. As growth continued, day classes were eventually offered in September 1960 at the First Presbyterian Church, since there were then 400 students attending night classes at the high school. In 1964, construction began on Bennett Hall after 2 plots of land equaling 80 acres were purchased from the largest fundraising drive seen since the city's founding in 1796. Classes began in Bennett Hall after 2 years of construction on September 19, 1966. It's safe to say that if it were not for the hopes, desires, aspirations, and funding from local industries, businesses, and residents, Ohio University Chillicothe would not exist today. As the first college branch in Ohio, this campus stands as a testament to perseverance and cooperation. Students who attend courses in the first 2 years consider themselves to be pioneers of sorts. Our graduates today are no different as we face the challenges that came with the arrival of the pandemic. Virtual learning, social distancing, mask wearing, and vaccinations are at present a part of our collective experience. Let us never forget that this too will pass like the challenges that came to the generations before us. I hope you will join us this fall of 2021 as we look back on our illustrious past while turning a bold face towards the future of regional education. For we are and will continue to be forever Ohio. Next, we are very fortunate to have a very special speaker in attendance for this graduation recognition ceremony. A businessman by distinction, a public servant by heart, and a lawmaker by practice, our speaker is a graduate of Ohio University and the Case Western Reserve School of Law. He previously served as the Chillicothe City Auditor from 2013 to 2015 until assuming the office of Mayor on January 1st, 2016. During his time as auditor, our speaker refinanced the city's outstanding debt into responsible long-term bonds. He increased transparency in the city's finances using OpenGov. He made the income tax office more accessible during tax season, and he ran a successful tax amnesty program. He is committed to providing dependable city services and being responsive to the needs of the community. We are very fortunate to have the Mayor of Chillicothe, Mr. Luke Feeney, here to offer some words of wisdom to the class of 2021.
Thank you, Dean. And thank you for the invitation tonight. At first I thought this might be via Zoom or Microsoft Teams, because that's all we've known for the past year, but I could not be happier to be here and in person. Full transparency here, to prepare for my speech tonight, what I did was what any self-respecting elected official or public speaker would do. I sat down at the computer and I Googled, how do I give a commencement speech? What I found was pretty good. Google said, be funny, make it personal, and it said to give advice based on my lifetime of experiences. I don't know about all of you, but for me, this past year has sort of felt like a lifetime. So I thought I'd pass along some of the really important things that I've learned recently. I learned that if there is ever another pandemic, the first and absolutely most important thing that you can do is rush immediately to the grocery store to buy as much toilet paper as you can possibly find. I also learned from TikTok that lots of people use their extra time to learn new dances, and that they're surprisingly mesmerizing to watch. I also learned that as an an absolute fact that someone has to be on mute during every single Zoom call or classroom session, and that someone else has to say to them, Bob, you're muted. You're muted, Bob. Bob, we can't hear you, Bob. Every single time. And finally, I learned that you don't necessarily have to wear pants to attend virtual class or city council meeting. But if you're not wearing pants, you should remember that it is not a good idea to stand up during that meeting. Or so I'm told. As I thought about more serious bits of wisdom for you, I realized something. How was I supposed to give advice to a graduating class that's pulled off something that no one before them has ever even attempted? Truly, what you've done in the past year to get to graduation, literally, no one has done before. From the time you wandered into kindergarten, as wide-eyed and wound-up 5-year-olds, you've been taught in schools, with your classmates and your teachers, in classrooms, for 16 years. Then, with just a few semesters to go, everything came to a screeching halt because of a global pandemic. The way that you learned to learn and interact with others your entire life was stripped away. And your only option to continue your education was to partake in way too much screen time. So you learned to learn differently. In a world where the economy was crashing down, people were sick and dying and losing their jobs, and there was so much heartache and hardship. All any of us knew a year ago was uncertainty. For you, some of the questions were probably, would school be in person again? Would it be virtual? Would it happen at all? Should I stay in school? Should I take a year off? Will I even have a job to pay for school? All of those questions, on top of what was going on in the rest of the world in 2020. Even without the pandemic, it would have been a tough year. There were social justice protests, a presidential election, and even those crazy murder hornets that we saw in the news. But somehow, you pulled it off. The faculty and families who get to attend graduation and celebrate the accomplishments of the graduating class each year are always impressed with the hard work and the accomplishments. But this year feels different. And I think it's because we are all in awe of what you've accomplished. Because frankly, we're not quite sure how you did it. So, instead of giving you advice today, I want to thank you for 2 really important lessons that I learned from you. First, you taught me the importance of being adaptable. You just put on a year-long master class in adaptation. You weren't given a choice, online or in person, Zoom or WebEx, or even for a full refund. You were told how your senior year was going to go, and you rolled with it. It was unexpected, frustrating, and unfortunate, but you pulled it off. College expectations didn't change. You just had to meet them in new and changing environments. You still had to connect with professors and classmates in a meaningful way. You just had to figure out how to do it virtually. You had to find new places to study, new ways to connect to the internet, new ways to socialize, and even new ways to be alone sometimes. And of course, you had to wear masks. All the time. So many masks. But for you, it didn't matter because you were set on graduating. You did what it took to get there. From you, I learned various techniques for adapting that you used even though you didn't know you were using them maybe. One technique that makes adaptation easier is finding humor in your situation. If you think back, you'll remember those times in the past year that all you could do was laugh at the absurdity of the situation. Like those times when Bob couldn't get unmuted. Another technique you used was to not get too stressed about being stressed. You may have found yourself talking to friends or family about how stressed out you were, and then realizing that that conversation made you even more stressed out. But at some point you realized that you wouldn't focus on what you couldn't control. You would focus on what you could control, and that made it easier for you to adapt. And instead of focusing on what you feared, whether that was the coronavirus, losing a job, or just plain old uncertainty, you focused on what you valued, which was graduation. You're better at adapting now than you've ever been because it's a skill that you've developed over the past year. Your ability to adapt is better than any graduating class that's ever come before you. It will serve you well for the rest of your life, and I am so appreciative that you've given me a little insight into how to be more adaptive myself. The second lesson that I learned from the class of 2021 was about resilience. You faced obstacle after obstacle over the past year, and you kept bouncing back. In doing that, whether you know it or not, you've established a mindset for yourself, a confidence that when things get tough, you now know you will make it through. Some tools that you used to become more resilient in the past year. You stayed calm during this incredibly stressful situation. Sure, you had your moments, but your ability to stay calm or return to being calm made you more resilient and saw you through to today at graduation. You helped others, whether it was a classmate, a friend, or a family member. Sometime in the past year, you actually became more resilient by helping someone else, even if it was something small, like letting somebody vent. Part of resilience is understanding that others are facing their own struggles too. You didn't dwell on why this was happening to you. Instead, you focused on how you were going to get through it, and you motivated yourself to do it. And finally, you became more resilient because you were able to rely on some source of support, whether it was family, a friend, or resources here at the university. Part of being resilient is about being able to rely on someone else. There is strength in that. Don't forget to thank those people who were your support over the past year. Choosing to attend college is not a small decision, and when you made it, it was probably one of the biggest decisions you had made in your life. The past year was an incredible test of that decision, and that thing in your brain told you over and over again that you would get through this because you are the type of person that finishes what they've started. This experience has become a part of you and built a foundation of resilience that will never leave you. Thank you for that lesson on resilience. When I'm faced with adversity in the future, I will think of this graduating class. As I wrap up, I do want to be clear. The fact that you had a tough year, the fact that you did something that's never been done before, does not make the rest of us feel sorry for you or give you a pass. Quite the opposite. It raises the bar. You are experts in adaptation and resilience. And that means we are all expecting the best from you. You may be sitting there with a job lined up in a career you always knew you were destined for. If that's you, congratulations. You've earned it, and we all expect you to make the most of it. Or you may be sitting out there with no idea of what's next. Your head is swimming with the thrill of this accomplishment, which is clashing with the uncertainty of the unknown. And I know that feeling because that's where I was when I was in your seat. Regardless of what seat you're in, I promise that you will face challenges along the way, and some of them will make you wonder if you'll ever make it through. But I also promise you this. You'll remember that you are resilient and that you can adapt. Because if you can contend with a global pandemic and murder hornets in the same year and still graduate, you can get through anything. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. While recognizing our current graduates, it seems appropriate to honor some of the campus's past students who have made their marks in their professions and in their communities. These are the individuals who have set the high standard and established the legacy that today's graduates will continue. In recognition of their service to the university, philanthropic support, success in their professional fields, and service to the community, we recognize these individuals as distinguished alumni of Ohio University Chillicothe. Through their professional achievements and service to their communities, they embody the spirit of Ohio Chillicothe. This year's award recipient is Mr. Joe Urick. In 2022, Joe Urick earned a Bachelor of Science in Communications from Ohio University. Over the past 15 years, Joe has been active in the financial industry. He continues to give back to the local community. Countless people have relied on his solid leadership and guidance through the ups and downs of life. Joe believes investing in Chillicothe strengthens relationships and client portfolios. He currently serves as the president and registered representative and investment advisor representative at Urick Financial. Joe holds among his varied securities registrations a Series 6, 7, 63, and 66, as well as insurance licensing. In addition, he is a member of the First Capital Rotary of Chillicothe and has served as past president and board member. Joe currently serves on the United Way Grant Committee and is chair of the Regional Coordinating Council for Ohio University Chillicothe. Joe lives in Chillicothe with his wife Randy and his daughter Amelia. Please join me in recognizing the 2021 recipient of the Distinguished Alumni Award, Mr. Joe Urick. It is now my honor to present the Rich Beebe Alumni Leadership Award to a former Ohio Chillicothe student whom we are recognizing this evening. This award is named in honor of Richard Beebe, Dean Emeritus of the Chillicothe campus. The award recognizes a former Ohio University student who exemplifies leadership, community service, and professional accomplishments. The Chillicothe campus prepares students for lives of impact in their workplaces as well as their communities. Ms. Joyce Atwood illustrates that ideal. Over the past 43 years, Joyce has been instrumental in teaching the leaders of tomorrow in her role as a reading teacher, elementary school principal, and assistant superintendent. She has an unwavering passion for the community in which she serves and is a 1965 alum of Ohio Chillicothe. Joyce has empowered youth to take on key leadership positions and has helped young women to become resourceful innovators in this 21st century world. Joyce continues to be fully engaged in bettering her community through numerous civic activities that have created a ripple effect in Chillicothe and beyond. In 1988, she was the first woman inducted into the Ross County chapter of the Kiwanis Club, later becoming an inductee of the Ross County Women's Hall of Fame at the Ross County Chamber of Commerce. In addition, Joyce has been the recipient of numerous awards that showcase her altruism, including an Educator Emeritus Award, a Red Cross Hero Award, an Altruza Mamie L. Bass Award, the Ohio Creative Staff Development Award from the ACSD, the 2015 JC Citizen of the Year Award, and most recently, the Ohio Chillicothe's Woman of Distinction Award at the Celebrate Women 2021 conference. At Ohio Chillicothe, Joyce served as Director of Development and Alumni Relations. She was the organizer of many noteworthy events celebrating women's accomplishments, Conversations with Successful Women series, Women in History dinners, Women in Philanthropy lectures, and the OUC Giving Circle, a group of women who joined together to support a variety of cultural events and activities on campus. Today, she remains the benefactor of the Joyce Atwood Scholarship for Ross County High School seniors. This impressive dedication to service and an undeniable desire to do well by others has inspired those she has mentored and encouraged along the way. Both Ohio Chillicothe and the city of Chillicothe are better places because of her work and dedication. Tonight, we show our appreciation and salute Ms. Joyce Atwood on receiving the 2021 Richard Beebe Alumni Leadership Award. Congratulations, Ms. Atwood. Our next speaker understands firsthand the qualities that make this region such a special place. He also realizes how the values that distinguish Southern Ohio have made their mark on tonight's graduates. Mr. Kirk Mcallister received his Bachelor of Arts degree in Communications at The Ohio State University. He also received his Master of Business Administration at Nova Southeastern University. He spent 20 years at Pfizer and held roles of increasing responsibility that included Director of U.S. Operations and Director of Strategy and Innovation and New Commercial Models. Soon after, he brought his corporate experience to many companies based in Chillicothe and is currently president of CP Management Company Incorporated. He continues to be an instrumental part of Ohio Chillicothe's workforce development initiatives. He has a passion for the businesses and residents of Chillicothe and is an intricate part to the success of the local hospitality industry. Kurt's creativity and innovativeness has been a major component in the success of Ohio Chillicothe's campus development and growth. He currently serves on the Regional Coordinating Council. It is my pleasure to introduce this evening's keynote speaker, Mr. Kirk Mcallister.
Thank you, Dean Milliken, faculty and staff, and the community, and also the mayor. I want to congratulate all of you, the graduates. You may not realize it, but you have demonstrated something significant by this accomplishment, as the mayor has spoken about. You have already overcome so much. You have learned new ways while using Zoom, Blackboard, Microsoft Teams, and all those other platforms that we're asking you to use during this past year. I know it was confusing and challenging because I watched my son, who's a freshman, try to figure it all out. It was very difficult. Who knew there would ever be such a thing as synchronous, asynchronous, web-based, online, and in-person class options? When you started college or career, maybe it took a while to even find your class syllabus, as it did my son, or the rubric, or the modules, or the announcements, or the assignments, or who to go to when you had questions, or who to even call. Anybody have that experience? Yes. My gosh, you have earned a college degree during the pandemic, while I have seen many choose a path of lesser resistance. This is undoubtedly a time to celebrate your accomplishment. It speaks to being performance-driven, wanting to better yourself, impact people in your life, and even build up our community by completing your degree in 2021. You have also demonstrated the critical life skills of practicing discipline and pursuing excellence. Over the years, I've also learned what it takes to overcome challenges. Maybe you have been flawlessly executing your high school and your college years, but I have not always been great at the critical life skills. I think at times I was much slower than your average OU Bobcat. However, I have learned a few things along the way. Today I want to challenge you to take those critical life skills of discipline and excellence and make them habits. Something you do routinely and repetitively. You already know much of the stuff I'm going to talk about because you've proven it by getting here today. But I think there is value in reviewing a few life lessons. These are likely things that you've already experienced, and I'm not an expert at life skills, and I've messed up a lot. plenty of mistakes in my years. But let's see if there's anything I can offer that might help you avoid some mistakes, or maybe you'll take away a couple of pearls of my life experience. The Kirk Mcallister definition of discipline is training yourself to do the right things at the right time throughout your life, and this will make you stand out. My definition of excellence is being outstanding and delivering high performance. In many ways, I believe discipline leads to excellence. I have an expression that I often use, and I call it going to the mirror. Anytime I'm faced with failure or a challenge, I begin to look at the only person I can control, and that's me. It's a view that I take of holding myself accountable. I have developed a mindset that if it is to be, it is up to me. I often may not be able to change the behavior of others, but I know I can change my own behavior. It must start with the person that I see in the mirror. It requires discipline, training myself in order to produce new behaviors that lead to excellence. My most impactful life lesson about discipline happened because I lacked it. Even my high school counselor told me I should consider community college, or possibly trade school. Have any of you been told the same thing? While those were good potential options, I just wanted something more for myself, something different. But I had to learn how to apply discipline in my life and change my ways. During my first visit at Ohio State, I was put in a large room and with hundreds of underperformers like myself, and I was told to look around, that only 10% of us would be there the next quarter, let alone graduate. I must admit, I was a bit overwhelmed, I was scared, and I doubted myself. But I was not deterred, and in fact, I viewed it as a challenge. You see, I had to learn all new habits, and I had to pay the price for my lack of discipline in high school. I know as a high school student, I had terrible habits. I barely graduated from high school, and I took a full year of prerequisite classes at Ohio State before receiving any credit towards my degree. My high school experience in college still drives me today, my experience, to sustain good habits and apply discipline. I have learned to view my life as a dog sled race. When you're in first place, it's beautiful, but when you're in second, the scenery never changes. If you tell me I cannot achieve something, I will take it on as a challenge to prove you that I can. However, I don't know how you feel about this. Have you ever felt this way? Bring it. Discipline is the first habit that I had to learn. Discipline and excellence did not come easy to me in my early years, as maybe it did for you. I would consider myself a late bloomer, and actually, I was there 5 years, completing a degree at Ohio State, before I moved here to Chillicothe. Also, I will never forget my days actually walking in and out of here at Bennett Hall 30 years ago as I was completing my final electives. In fact, it's ironic, but my very last class here at Ohio University Chillicothe was public speaking. I moved to Chillicothe to finish my classes and work for my father after graduating at Ohio State. My parents were divorced since I was 5 years old, so Chillicothe was new to me because I grew up with my mother and stepfather in Dayton, Ohio. I learned a lot during my first year here at Chillicothe. And I had the honor of building the Christopher Conference Center named after my immigrant grandfather, late grandfather, Christopher Mcallister. After the completion of the grand opening, I went to my father, Pat, and I said, "Dad, I quit." And he said, "What are you going to go do?" I said without hesitation, "I'm going to go out and figure out life just like you have." You may be wondering why I quit too. You see, my father and grandfather's experience taught me that in life, to never be afraid of a more difficult path. Never my grandfather nor my father ever had anything handed to them. They both created their different paths of success without taking handouts. And I didn't want handouts either. I wanted to challenge myself to achieve something on my own, something greater than I thought was ever possible. I was looking for a way to be outstanding and rewrite the history of my mistakes. While that may seem a bit, maybe irresponsible, I'm not sure. I already had a degree and I was working for my father and he was successful. While that may seem, crazy, it did offer me an opportunity to go and to leave and apply my degree and do something successful like my father. On my own, I created the opportunity. I wanted to reach a standard above what was ordinary on my own. And what I didn't recognize at the time was that I was pursuing excellence. So my first habit to learn was discipline, and the second was pursuing excellence. Now that you have pursued excellence and applied the discipline, you've achieved this exciting milestone. You've earned a degree. Now you get to start all over. Doesn't that sound exciting? I started all over again when I landed a job with a big pharmaceutical company. It's kind of funny to think back on the day of my first corporate job and interview, and they asked me if I would take a position in Melbourne, Florida. And I quickly replied with, yes, I will go. And then I had to run to the map to find out where in the heck Melbourne, Florida was. But it was exciting. It was exciting for the opportunity. Trying to become more successful in my new job as a pharmaceutical rep, and it was really difficult and intimidating. The industry, the experience of selling was completely new to me and foreign. I asked myself, what is excellence supposed to look like here? I learned three things as I spent time with high performers. First, I watched what they did, and I just started to mimic their behavior. You probably have already used this strategy in your life, where you just look around and start imitating the behaviors of performers. Next thing you know, you become one. And imitating excellence leads to excellence. Once I had to figure that out, I started leading the pack. I just had to figure out an extra edge to get in front of the pack. Secondly, doing something different or more difficult for me gave me an advantage. I knew that I was expected to make 8 calls a day on doctors, so I decided I'd make 10. I also decided to spend most of my time with 20% of the doctors that were prescribing 80% of the medications that I promoted. You may have heard of this. It's called the Pareto Principle. And thirdly, excellence also has to do with your soft skills, learning how to interact with others with impact. I learned that physicians are just people like you and me, and that they connect with people that match to their personality. I learned how to adapt my message and how to match my personality to theirs. So if they were analytical, I would bring them scientific papers to go over and research. If they were relational, I would sit down with them and have lunch, learn about their hobbies, and take up their interests and get to know them. But there were still days that I had to go to the mirror and give myself a pep talk. Every day wasn't easy. I can tell you there were many times I drove 3 hours to go see a doctor, and he or she would just cancel my appointment upon my arrival. Not a motivating experience for sure. While I really don't know if my career decision to leave Chillicothe for a career in pharmaceutical sales has led me to be any more successful, or even smarter, I do, however, know that it made me more confident and prepared to continue the performance of our family business right here in Chillicothe, Ohio. So I have a challenge for you about habitual discipline and excellence. 3 aspects of excellence are the mimicking. Learn the behaviors from others. Do more than your peers and do something different. And apply those soft skills in creating impact in your conversation with others. While you say, that's great, Kirk, what about when I don't see the results when I want them? My answer is the equation is discipline equals consistency plus perseverance. In other words, don't give up. Let me give you a personal example. I interviewed for a job, multiple jobs and promotions, multiple times throughout my career at Pfizer. I was told that I was not ready for a promotion and that I needed consistent performance. It wasn't until I repeated performance year over year that I would be considered for a promotion. It was only after becoming Rookie of the Year and spending 6 years in the top 10% of my peers did I earn my first promotion to district manager. I can tell you that it was a frustrating time for me. I earned my first promotion, and I truly wanted to give up and look for another job, but I didn't. It nearly got to a point in time where I just quit looking for the opportunities to grow. And I began to just focus in on delivering performance in my current role and find success. I am forever grateful for the advice and support given to me by my mentors who encouraged me, my family, and for the perseverance that I had to apply with discipline. They knew that I was not ready to lead others, but I did not know how much I needed to learn during that time. The competencies of your job over several years that it takes to apply discipline is what gets you promoted. I know the statistics say that an average person will have 5 different jobs during their career, and hardly anybody sticks it out with one company anymore. But what if you could have 5 different jobs and stay with the same company? The only way I made that possible was to relocate and move around to different cities with the same company. Relocating my family many times was not easy, but I really believe it made our family stronger, better, and because we learned to live in diverse areas of the country and rely on each other, we built strength. I ended my career in pharma after 20 years, and I actually achieved the highest honor of being placed in the company's Hall of Fame. And it's amazing to think that nearly a high school dropout has a bronze bust of their head in the building at the corner of 42nd Street and 2nd in New York City. It's actually kind of creepy to think about, to be honest. Now, as an entrepreneur back here in Chillicothe, I had to start all over. Again, I had to start all over. It's going to be a repetitive theme in your life. I had to learn new habits again and find new ways to be excellent. I had the great fortune to learn to mimic the excellent behavior of my father and our partners who continue to teach me so very much. In the 8 years that I have been back here, I have earned the trust of our investors. It's still true that I go to the mirror each morning and I challenge myself. My performance is measured by our investors every month. In fact, our investors want me to repeat performance year after year. I accept that challenge. Measuring performance is useful because it tells me and others in our company if we are consistent and excellent. It can also tell us where we need to grow. So, how can you begin to set measurable goals for your personal pursuit of excellence? What can you imitate? While your degree is a spectacular example of performance, I can tell you that it does not guarantee you a job. It doesn't guarantee you a promotion. I do, however, believe it significantly says something about your ability to apply discipline and excellence. A degree will definitely provide you with more options throughout your life than those without a degree. Do you know that the performance of earning a degree puts you in the category of approximately only 33% of Americans? Did you know that the college students with a 4-year degree can expect to earn 25% more than those without a degree? Maybe more important than your earning potential, I believe you have learned something even more meaningful. You have learned that being consistent and excellent matters. You may be doing all of the right things, but your performance is measured often by someone else. And I'm sure many of you have experienced the challenge of receiving a grade less than you expected. After you had followed the rubric, or you followed the job description to a T, your excellence is almost always defined by others. Right or wrong, I'm sure you have experienced this in college or in a job, and it will be true throughout your life. You have also likely learned the art of winning over professors and peers, or maybe those that you worked on a team with, that you didn't particularly like. This again is where the practice of your soft skills, making a positive impact in your interaction with others, will separate you from other people that will complain a lot. Because there are a lot of complainers. You will experience the same in your job. You will often have to put a smile on, keep your eye on the prize of being consistent and excellent. Relating to this concept, I had a terrible boss. In fact, I've had multiple terrible bosses in my career. Have you ever had a bad boss? I bet some of you have one right now, I'm not going to say. But I'm sure you have. I had a boss that would direct tasks that were trivial and often meaningless. And he would have me send reports to him every week, and I don't think he even read a single word. Not a pleasurable experience. My peers decided they wouldn't submit the reports anymore. So I had the experience of my peers telling me to quit sucking up to my boss. I told them that I wasn't sucking up, but that I was consciously choosing to persevere the experience differently. You can accomplish about anything you want in any job. You can find a way to be positive and deliver performance by persevering with discipline. I chose the route to work through the issues of my boss, and it paid off because he eventually got demoted and I got promoted. How are you going to respond the next time you have a terrible boss, or even now? Because if you haven't already, you will at some point down the road run into this person I'm talking about. John Maxwell, a famous author and motivational speaker, said it best. Motivation gets you where you want to go, but discipline keeps you growing. That's the law of consistency. It doesn't matter how many opportunities you receive, if you want to grow, consistency is key. I'm sure you've experienced this throughout the many obstacles to achieving your degree. Just as you faced the bell-shaped curve of receiving a grade in a new class. You were either in the bottom 10%, you were in the large middle, or you were in the top 10% of the highest level of performers. Performance at your next job will likely be exactly the same. It's how effective you are doing your job with excellence and consistency. Where do you want to be on the bell-shaped curve of your next job? How are you going to put yourself at that top 10%? No one achieves excellence by accident. It's intentional and it is habitual. It is giving your better best when you feel like giving your least. Paraphrasing Aristotle, the famous philosopher, excellence is not an act, but a habit. You are what you repeatedly do. This quote reminds me of a recent conversation I had with an inspirational friend of mine here locally named Gavin Campos. Gavin called me a few weeks ago to thank me for mentoring him as he transitioned from working as a server at a local restaurant to starting his own successful lawn service business. He received a job at Pixel. Gavin shared something compelling relating to creating good habits. He said, "You know, Kirk, I've come to realize that if I hang out with 5 drug addicts, I'm likely to become the 6th. If I hang out with 5 millionaires, I'm likely going to become the 6th too." While having money is great, I don't think that was Gavin's primary point. What I can tell you is, I believe Gavin was telling me that discipline, consistency, and excellence of other people are contagious. Gavin was telling me, Gavin is contagious. He wasn't telling me that. I was telling him he was contagious. Because he rose above the adversity of his situation. During the pandemic, created a new business, and was recognized by leaders at Pixel for consistent discipline applied. As Gavin taught me this lesson, I ask you, how do you spend your time with your company that you keep, because they will often determine where you end up. I ask you to evaluate the 5 people in your life that influence your discipline and ability to be excellent. Are those 5 people adding to you? Or do you need to find 5 other people in your life with similar aspirations? The 5 people you spend the most time with will most influence what you repeatedly do. In closing, I know you've been waiting for that. When you ever doubt yourself, go to the mirror. Ask yourself, am I going to create new critical life habits of discipline and excellence? Also ask yourself, am I mimicking the behaviors of high performers? Are you doing something different and better or more than those around you? And I can tell you this, if you're not, your scenery will never change. So, I want to thank you for your time, and again, congratulate you on this momentous achievement. May your habits of discipline and excellence continue to lead you in front of the pack. Thank you.
Thank you, Kirk. It is now my pleasure to recognize outstanding students in their academic programs. As your name is read, please stand and remain standing so that you can be recognized. The outstanding program graduates with associate's degrees are Caleb Johnson for Accounting Technology, Chelsea Spears for Business Management Technology, Luke Barnes for Computer Science Technology, Allison Trago for Human Services Technology, John Lemaster for Law Enforcement Technology, Shelby Brown and Tony Ann Carpenter for Nursing. Outstanding program graduates with bachelor's degrees are Jared Alfrey and Leanne Cox for Applied Management, Hannah Rausch for Communication Studies, Keisha Cheney for Criminal Justice, Megan Crozier and Shania Seti for Early Childhood Education, Carly Huff and Ian Peterson for Middle Childhood Education, Paige Neff for Nursing, Erica Hayes and Bethany Strickland for Social Work, Sarah Ureg for Specialized Studies, and Darren Boyce for Technical and Applied Studies. Please join me in applauding these students who have received these awards. It is now with great pleasure that we celebrate the accomplishments of these graduates who on this occasion join the ranks of accomplished Ohio University alumni from across the region, the state, the nation, and indeed the world. Graduates, your university has confidence in your ability and will rejoice in all your future successes. As you continue that pursuit of knowledge and as you take on the challenges of tomorrow, I hope you will think often of your days at Ohio Chillicothe. Congratulations, graduates. Will the faculty marshals please come forward?
Will candidates for associate degrees please rise? Will you come? I have the honor of presenting these candidates who have been commended by faculty, having completed all requirements with associate degree. The Millikan, upon recommendation of the faculty, and by the authority of the Board of Trustees of Ohio University, please signal that you recognize these candidates have completed their associate degrees with the rights, privileges thereunto pertaining by standing and saying yes.
Yes.
Candidates, please be seated.
Will the candidates for bachelor's degrees please rise? Dean Milliken, I have the honor of presenting these candidates who are recommended by the faculty and have completed all requirements for the bachelor's degree. Dean Milliken, upon the recommendation of faculty by the authority of the Board of Trustees of Ohio University, please signal that you recognize that these candidates have completed the bachelor's degree with all rights and privileges thereunto retained by standing and saying yes.
Yes.
Please be seated.
Will associate degree candidates please rise for a moment when your name is called? Family members, as you cheer your student, please be mindful that others want to hear the name of their own child called or family member. Elizabeth Dombrowski, associate degree of applied science in nursing. August Hadley, associate degree in applied science. Rachel Giuliani, associate degree in nursing. Cameron Steve, associate of science in nursing. Kara Whitworth, associate of applied science. Summer Cooper, associate degree in nursing. Shelby Brown, associate degree in nursing. Tammy Fletcher, associate degree in office technology. Mitch Howard, associate degree in computer science technology. Caleb Johnson, associate degree in accounting technology.
This is the fun part, people. And for those of you wearing glasses and masks, I apologize. This must be such a strange experience. Hope you can actually see through the mist and the fog. Will all bachelor's degree candidates please rise for a moment when your name is called? Please recognize that word, rise. Don't just stand. Rise. And if I mess up your name, please feel free to vocally correct me. Mackenzie Clemens, Bachelor's of History. Tyler McGee, Bachelor's of History. Morgan Adams, Bachelor's of Art and Psychology and Applied Social. Olivia DeVille, Psychology and Bachelor's of Arts. Michael Short, Bachelor's of Criminal Justice. Jared Alfred, Bachelor of Science and Applied Management. Leanne Glass, Applied Management. Allison Miller, Bachelor of Science and Applied Management. Anthony Dixon Jr., Communications. Hannah Rausch, Bachelor's of Communication Studies. Hunter Ives, Bachelor of Science and Education. Ashley Carver, Bachelor of Science and Education. Bailey Foreman, Early Childhood Education. Leslie Ann Fout, Bachelor's of Science and Education. Abigail Hubbard, Bachelor of Science in Education. Jalen Johnson, Early Childhood Education. Summer Riley, Early Childhood Education. Carly Reinhardt, Early Childhood Education. Kristen Sarver, Bachelor of Science in Early Childhood Education. Shania Say, Early Childhood Education. Cassie Simon, Early Childhood Education. Randy Smith, Bachelor of Science in Education. Brooklyn Stage, Early Childhood Education. Emily Waldner, Bachelor of Science in Education. Amber Watkins, Bachelor of Science in Education. Chloe Hoover, Bachelor's of Middle Childhood Education. Carly Hall, Bachelor of Science in Middle Childhood Education. Ian Peterson, Bachelor's of Middle Childhood Education. Abigail Triplett, Bachelor's of Math and Social Studies, Middle Childhood Education. Ashley Triplett, Bachelor of Science in Education. Benjamin Young, Middle Childhood, Bachelor of Education. Kathleen Newberry, Health Services Administration. Bailey Barnes, Bachelor of Science in Nursing. Sarah Carpenter, Bachelor's in Nursing. Shannon Carpenter, Bachelor's in Nursing. Tony Ann Carpenter, Associates in Nursing. Alicia Davis, BSN. Beth Davis, Bachelor of Science in Nursing. Rachel Griffith, Bachelor's in Nursing. Scotty Graves, Bachelor of Science in Nursing. Kaylee Haynes, BSN. Brianna Penton, Bachelor of Science in Nursing. Tiffany McCutcheon, Bachelor of Science in Nursing. Close enough then. Logan Monroe, Bachelor of Science in Nursing. Paige Neff, Bachelor of Science in Nursing. Samantha Ross, Bachelor of Science in Nursing. Kayla Shepard, Bachelor of Science in Nursing. Jonathan Smith, BSN. Bethany Strike Farmer, BSN. Morgan Atkins, Bachelor's in Social Work. Shayna Conley, Social Work, Developmental Accessibility. Alexis Dunn, Bachelor's in Social Work. Erica Hayes, Social Work. Brooke Hood, Social Work. Allison Leisure, Bachelor's in Social Work. Emma Housley, Bachelor's in Social Work. Danielle Reed, Social Work. Rebecca Salmons, Social Work. Jamie West, Bachelor of Social Work. And Sarah Yuri, Bachelor of Specialized Studies.
All graduates, please rise. Ladies and gentlemen, I now present to you our Ohio University Chillicothe Spring Graduating Class of 2021. Please be seated. It has been our honor to host this happy occasion, graduates. Many of you have balanced the demands of family and work obligations while pursuing your college degree. For all of you today, your dedication, commitment, persistence, sacrifice, and hard work have finally paid off. Now comes one of my favorite parts of the program. Graduates, you can now move your tassels from the right to the left. Graduates, a university education is about preparing students for fulfilling lives and rewarding careers. I encourage you to remain lifelong learners. Remember that education is a journey and not a destination. During your time on campus, you have had the opportunity to interact with individuals of many walks of life. I hope you will continue to embrace diversity and to seek out others with various backgrounds. Also, pay it forward. You have earned an excellent education. Be mindful of that and use your skills and insights to help others. Wherever your dreams now take you, we hope you will stay close in spirit to Ohio University, and especially Ohio University Chillicothe. We are confident that the future is in good hands. Would everyone please rise? Graduates, you owe your success not to those of us standing in front of you, but to those standing behind you and beside you, your support system, of your family, and your friends. I think now is a good time to recognize them and say thank you. Graduates, join me in a round of applause to show your appreciation. This concludes the graduation recognition ceremony. As you depart, I encourage all of you to remember to keep social distance. Please avoid congregating in ways where safe distance cannot be observed. Feel free to exit using